Saints and the Dallas Cowboys. With a win today, the Saints are in the playoffs. And if the Saints win and Atlanta and San Francisco lose, the Saints are the champions of the NFC West. The Cowboys also control their own destiny. If they win their remaining 3, they are in. But they don't necessarily need to win all 3 to get in. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Sean McDonough, along with the coach, Hank Stram. Nice to have you with us today as these two teams battle for playoff spots with uncertainty at the quarterback positions. For New Orleans, Bobby Hebert was the starter. He's been injured. Steve Walsh playing lately. What is the latest, Hank?
Well, during the course of the week, there was a lot of speculation about the fact that Bobby Hebert might start the game. Not so. Steve Walsh is going to start the game. We thought that Bobby Hebert was going to be upgraded to number 2. He hasn't been. They put him back down to 3. He will not play unless there's an extreme emergency here this afternoon.
For Dallas, Troy Aikman is injured. He will dress today. They hope he'll start next week. Steve Berline gets the call.
Yeah, Steve Berline is the participant. He's done a great job the last couple of weeks. This is the second game he's starting. He feels good about what he has done. He has high expectation of doing it again here this afternoon against the New Orleans Saints.
And we're underway. The Saints won the toss and received the kickoff. And they'll open at their 20, led by Steve Walsh. The former first-round draft pick of the Dallas Cowboys, now leading the New Orleans attack against his former college coach at the University of Miami, Jimmy Johnson. Cooper, Dombrowski, Hilgenberg, Fort, Brock, and Brenner the front. Fennerty and Jordan the backs. Martin and Early the wideouts for New Orleans on 1st and 10. Gil Fennerty across the 25 with a first down across the 35 and banged out of bounds by Isaac Holtz. A gain of 17 on the first play of the afternoon for the New Orleans Saints. Jack Del Rio is the leading tackler for the Dallas Cowboys. Now a starter at middle linebacker. Up front, it's Tony Tolbert, Tony Casillas, Russell Maryland starting to come on, and Jim Jeffcoat. Del Rio now a middle linebacker with the outside backers Norton and Smith. And the secondary has been a concern with Holt, Brown, Horton, and Washington. Fred McAfee now in the backfield. He's tripped up at the line of scrimmage by Tony Casillas. McAfee fell ahead for a yard.
You know, one thing about the Dallas defense, they play a 4-3, but it's a double gap situation, a double bubble. So I think we're going to see the Saints try to run straight ahead at this defense. They're much more vulnerable when you run at them straight ahead than if you try to get outside, because the ends play very wide and it's difficult to get outside. Much better to run inside.
Jimmy Johnson with steady improvement in each of his 3 years with Dallas. 1-15 the first season, 7-9 last year, and narrowly missing the playoffs. Now with an excellent playoff possibility in 1991. McAfee hit behind the line of scrimmage, driven down by Russell Maryland.
Russell Maryland got in the gap on the backside. Both the left guard and the left tackle were pulling on the play to the right side. Maryland, number 67, and that's the way you got to attack this play. Got to get it from the backside, which he did, and it's a loss on the play. Great play by Russell Maryland.
A loss of 2, setting up 3rd down and 11. Walsh throws to the near sideline, nearly intercepted. He was looking for Quinn Early, and Isaac Holt was eyeing his 5th interception of the season, and if he picked it off, in all likelihood, a touchdown.
Well, it'd have been the bye-bye Blues. He'd have been gone all the way. He should have made that interception. I think anybody that has that kind of an opportunity in this kind of a game, in a big game like this, then they have a chance. They have to capitalize on it.
Tommy Barnhart on the punt. His average 4th best in the NFC. Kelvin Martin waits for it. At the 10. Martin with running room. And out of bounds at the 21. Chased out by John Tice. A 55-yard punt for Barnhart and a 12-yard return officially for Kelvin Martin. No score Dallas goes on offense after this. The Cowboys are on offense, led by Steve Berline, making his second start as a member of the Cowboys.
And talking to him, you know, it's amazing how comfortable and how confident he appears to be after just a short period of time with the Dallas Cowboys.
The Cowboys open with 2 tight ends, Alfredo Roberts and Robert Awol. The give is to Emmitt Smith. He drives ahead to the 29-yard line for a gain of 7, tackled by Toy Cook. The rest of the Dallas offense around Steve Berline, the third-year quarterback from Notre Dame. Up front, an improving offensive line with Tuane, Gogan, Stepnoski, Giesick, and Newton. Roberts opened at tight end. Emmitt Smith and Darrell Johnston, the running backs. Johnston, an excellent blocking fullback. Michael Irvin and Alvin Harper, the wide receivers.
You know, you wonder why they're starting with a double tight end offense. They're doing that to make sure they have 7-on-7 and are able to put somebody in the face of those 2 great linebackers, Jackson and Swilling.
On 2nd and 2, Emmitt Smith. Close to a first down at the 32-yard line. Sam Mills and Pat Swilling combined to make the tackle. Now for the New Orleans Saints on defense, led by the leading sack man in the NFL, Swilling with 15. The front is Martin, Wilkes, and Warren, a veteran trio. The best linebackers in football, Jackson, Mills, Johnson, and Swilling. And an injured secondary, Milton Mack just off injured reserve, Toy Cook, Gene Atkins, and Brett Maxey. 2 cornerbacks dressed today who weren't on the roster last week for New Orleans, including Mack.
You know, you might be interested in too, and to know that Milton Mack is playing the right corner. Normally, he has always played that position, and Toy Cook has played that spot up until this time. Today, Toy Cook is going to play the left corner, and Milton Mack the right corner, because Milton Mack feels much more comfortable on the right side, and Toy Cook has the versatility.
Dallas eligible.
Has a versatility to play either side. So that's why that's happening this afternoon.
3rd and 1 upcoming. You heard the referee Pat Haggerty say that Alan Weingrad, number 76, was reported for Dallas as an eligible receiver. Smith has the first down. He reached the 35 before being knocked back by Milton Mack.
And here again, they're in tight, double tight with a wing back, and they get a lot of power. And again, they're making the linebackers play football instead of playing in space. Those 2 great linebackers on the outside love to play in space, and they're hard to control if you don't have somebody on them. Now with double tight, they have somebody on them, and it restrains their attacking across the line of scrimmage.
Jim Mora. How things have changed for him in 3 weeks. 3 weeks ago, 9-1 with a 4-game lead in their division. Now 9-4 with a 1-game lead. Berline's first pass through the hands of Johnston and incomplete.
That's what happens when you throw in the middle and you throw it a little bit high. That hit the shoulder pads of Johnson, flew up into the air, and there was a good chance that ball would be intercepted. Here's the replay as we look at it. Hit him right in the head, and you couldn't tell whether a linebacker got a piece of that ball or what happened, but it looked like they did, and it hit him right in the head.
Looked like Jim Wilkes from the 94 might have gotten a piece of it. 2nd and 10.
Looked like he got his hands up in good shape.
No score, just underway in the first quarter. Berline, quick pass, caught. Michael Irvin. First down, Dallas, out to the 47-yard line. Vaughn Johnson made the tackle. That's catch number 74 of the season for Michael Irvin.
And I think because of their defensive backfield situation, I think the Saints are going to use a lot of zone. And if that's the case, why there's going to be some space, watching the right side. There's a big cushion on the left corner. Toy Cook playing way off of the receiver, and as a result, he's able to move inside and pick up extra yardage on the play. That's a hitch pattern, but that's a very good high percentage kind of a play.
First and 10, Dallas on their own 47. Berline looking deep. Irvin incomplete. Milton Mack had the coverage. You mentioned Mack was just activated. earlier in the week, and Milton says he's expecting the Cowboys to come after him today. He said, if I were the Cowboys, I would test him.
Well, he's smart. I'm sure that's what they're going to do, but he's a very good cover guy, especially on man-for-man and bump and run. He tries to get a little bump on him early and got his hands on him again when the ball was in the air, but wasn't called on the play. The only time you can touch the receiver is 5 yards after he comes off the line of scrimmage within that 5-yard area. After that, if you're not careful, you're going to get caught for holding.
2nd and 10. Draw to Emmitt Smith. He's in the New Orleans territory at the 49. The gain of 4. Pat Swilling and Jim Wiltz combined to make the play.
The one thing I think Dallas feels they have to do, and they want to make sure, number one, that they're very patient. They stay with the plan and keep the ball away from the New Orleans Saints as much as they possibly can. And that's the plan, and it's working so far. And it's working pretty well.
This is the 8th play of the opening drive for Dallas. No score. 9:16 to play in the first quarter. 3rd down and 6. Burline caught. Alvin Harper, first down Dallas to the 41-yard line.
3 things that you have to do if you're going to play against New Orleans. Number one, you must block Swilling, you must block Jackson, and you must block Warren. That time, the left tackle, Tuanay, got a good block on Swilling. Watch it. It opens up the lane and provides the quarterback with an opportunity to throw the ball inside to Harper.
First catch of the day for the rookie from the University of Tennessee. First round draft choice of the Dallas Cowboys. On 1st and 10 from the 41. Burline caught. Alvin Harper short of the first down. At the 34, he gained 7, tackled by Vaughn Johnson.
And the Cowboys did a good job of controlling Swilling on the play. They sent a guy in motion in his face. He was looking like he wanted to blitz and come up the field, but when he saw the man in motion go up the field, he had to back off and cover on the play, and as a result, there was no pass rush whatsoever.
2nd down 3, Vaughn Johnson.
42.5 sacks in his last 45 games. And we told you moments ago that his 15 sacks this season leads the National Football League. 2nd and 3 for Steve Burline in Dallas. Back to Emmitt Smith. He leaps ahead and has the first down at the 30-yard line, again tackled by Vaughn Johnson.
And I think in most cases, in a critical situation, I think Dallas is going to run to the right because of Newton, their big right tackle. He's really a snoot bull, and he's a real load coming off that line of scrimmage because he's heavy, he weighs about 320, and gets off the ball in good shape, and it's hard to get around it.
Emmitt Smith comes into today's game as the 3rd leading rusher in the NFL and 2nd in the NFC. For the entire league, he trails Thurman Thomas and Barry Sanders. This is the 11th play of the drive. 1st and 10, and the Saints go across the line of scrimmage. Frank Warren jumped across. The question is, was he drawn on?
See, watch the head. You see what happened? The head moved, and as a result, Warren jumped across the line of scrimmage. And that's not by accident. That's by design. They want to do that as much as they possibly can. They talked about doing that to keep them off balance. I think we'll also see them run some quick counts, which we very rarely see. But you have to get a variety of things against this great defense of the New Orleans Saints, or else you're gonna be engulfed by those 4 people.
No score. We're down to 6:47 to play in the first quarter. Burline, out again by Harper. His 3rd catch, hit immediately by Milton Mack. And close to a first down, short of the 20-yard line.
You know, that's such a simple play. It's ridiculous, but not enough people really run the play, the hitch pattern that they're throwing right now. It's about 6 yards deep. You go right at the defensive back, stop, come back for the ball. The ball's thrown on time. You know, it's like stealing. You can't knock the ball down because there's not enough time.
Hank, is it safe to say they are coming at Milton Mack?
Yes, they are. And it's understandable because he hasn't played for a long time. and they're going to give him as much business as they possibly can.
The Cowboys just short of a first down.
Cowboys have had 11 plays, 5 runs, 6 passes. Great balance.
Second and less than a yard for the Cowboys.
It's a good time for a play action pass. Good time for a play action pass to see if this is what they do.
Emmett Smith has the first down. He's down to the 17-yard line.
If they can continue to get the push that they're getting off the line of scrimmage, and that's kind of a situation we could look for them later to run some kind of a play action pass in that situation. Look at the push. Look at the push on the left side, knocking people sideways, creating a running room, and they pick up the yardage for the first down. I'm really surprised to see Dallas push the ball up the field like they have so far. But again, they got a great plan. You got to get people on people. You can't let 56 and 57 play in space.
Burline throws, caught by the tight end Alfredo Roberts. He's down after a gain of 2 to the 15-yard line. You saw the numbers a moment ago. Those are not good numbers for the Dallas offense. They have struggled to score touchdowns inside the 20.
One thing about watching them play the last few weeks, they have been very consistent in what they do. It's obvious they have a plan, and they don't deviate too much from that plan. They just come off the bus and execute the plan, and that's what they're doing right now, running right at the Saints.
Sellout crowd of nearly 65,000 here. Cowboys with it at the New Orleans 15, 2nd and 8. Burline has a man wide open. Roberts, the tight end, first down to the 3-yard line. Brett Maxey made the tackle that prevented the touchdown.
Zone, they're playing a zone defense. The tight end, Roberts, gets open. Here we are now behind the defense, watching what happens as far as the drops. Look at, he's looking at the tight end. He comes in and breaks to the outside. He's open. And Maxey finally makes the tackle. But again, he's very, very close to the goal line.
Inside the 3. Steve Burline without Jay Novacek. An outstanding receiving tight end to this point, but the Cowboys do hope that he'll see action today. For as much as 15 or 20 plays. On 1st and goal, Johnston rolled down at the 1, but then was driven back by Sam Mills.
It looked like they pulled the left guard on the play like it was supposed to be a trap. If it wasn't a trap, it was supposed to be a sucker play that didn't work. Sucker play meaning that they're going to pull the left guard and hope that the defensive tackle will go with him and then give the ball to the back right up the middle where he just left. That didn't happen, and as a result, it's a great play by Sam Mills, number 51.
2nd and goal from the 1. This is the 16th play of the drive.
Out of room on the right side.
That is Novacek. He went in motion. Burline throws. Touchdown. Gerald Johnston.
It looked like they were outmanned before the ball was snapped on that right side for the run or the pass. Into the end zone for the touchdown. The Cowboys score and go ahead 6-0. Here you see the motion to the right side. Novacek. He stops, which keeps the defensive back in that area. Johnson gets behind him. They throw the ball right before he gets out of the end zone for the touchdown that puts him ahead 6-0.
Now Ken Willis, still perfect in his career in extra points. 56 of 56 lifetime for Willis. Great drive by the Cowboys. Sean McDonough and Hank Stram back at Texas Stadium in Irving, Texas, just outside Dallas. The Cowboys with a 7-0 lead. Ken Willis will kick it away. Atkins from the 4. Flag thrown. 3 flags are down. Atkins down at the 20-yard line. Tommy Agee made the tackle for the Cowboys.
And the Cowboys put him on a trolley line. They kicked the ball for the right corner, which meant that he was surrounded by Dallas people. They knew that's where the ball was going to be, and he didn't have much running room whatsoever.
Because Willis does not have a particularly strong leg on kickoffs, the Cowboys do try to kick off at an angle to improve their coverage. And that time it certainly worked.
In the drive of the Dallas Cowboys, Berline was 7 of 9 and hit 4 different receivers. But the hitch pattern was a very, very important part of what they did.
Pat Haggerty's mic apparently is not functioning, holding the call against the Saints on the run back.
Okay.
And Pat's going to try again. Timeout on the field. Days 78 yards, and it consumed 9 minutes and 27 seconds. And as you noted, Hank, a good mixture of the run and pass.
Well, it really was, and I think the big thing was that they really stayed with a double tight most of the time and put a lot of pressure on those linebackers.
Steve Walsh and the Saints begin at their own 10, following the penalty for holding on the kickoff return. Walsh looking deep, hit, lost it. That's a free ball. Picked up by Hobie Brenner, and he just did get it out of the end zone. And now Pat Haggerty apparently is going to rule it an incomplete forward pass. There seems to be some confusion on the field. Pat Haggerty has walked back to the 10-yard line, the original line of scrimmage, and just now the players are realizing that he called that an incomplete pass.
See, Walsh on a play-action pass, and I think in this kind of a situation, if you're going to throw the ball, especially try to throw it deep, you're better off to just make sure you got security, go back in the pocket and throw it, rather than take the risk of using the play-action pass and having a slow leak on the backside and getting pressure from the backside and getting hit from the backside. That's what happens if you use a play-action pass and it doesn't protect on the backside.
Jim Jeffcoat hit Walsh. Pat Haggerty, the referee, after a moment's hesitation, signaled incomplete pass. It is now being reviewed by Bill Stanley, the replay official. And as you could tell by a couple of crowd reactions and by Jimmy Johnson's glance up at the scoreboard, they have shown the replay here a couple of times. And the crowd thinks that it was a fumble by Steve Walsh.
See, there's a play-action fake, and he has no idea what's happening with Jeffcoat on the backside. The ball flies up in the air. Look, you almost had a signal for a catch.
The question is, was his arm coming forward? And from that replay, it was apparent that it was not, and it still is not. His arm is coming up, not yet forward.
Yeah, that's a questionable, very questionable call.
The good news for the Saints is that Brenner did pick up the free ball and run it out of the end zone to about the 1-yard line.
See, had they recovered in the end zone,
so the running of the ball out of the end zone would stand.
They call a reversal. The ball's dead on the 1-yard line.
Ball is dead on the 1-yard line.
So it was a fumble.
Yep.
Jeffcoat caused the fumble by Walsh. Brenner recovered and brought it out of the end zone to the 1. So the Saints are back at the 1-yard line.
And had Dallas recovered it in the end zone, it would have been a touchdown.
This is an instance in which the replay worked to make the right call. 2nd and 19. Bill Kennedy, the back lined up behind Walsh. And he gets the call. He fights out to the 4-yard line. Vincent Smith, the outside linebacker, number 57, made the tackle on Gil Fenerty, the product of Holy Cross. Throughout the today, Greg Gumbel, Terry Bradshaw and company will be keeping you up to date on these scores, as will we, and the playoff implications. It's down to crunch time. Third down and 16.
Now you got to be careful you don't make a mistake here and cough up the football with an incomplete, with an interception.
Eric Martin, the catch, well short of a first down. He's down at the 11-yard line, tackled by Bill Bates, who came in as a part of Dallas's nickel package.
And you wonder, a lot of people watching this game say, well, why would he throw the ball and not be able to throw it deep enough to make the first down? They're playing a soft zone, and the one thing they wanted to do is get more room for the kicking game, where the kicker doesn't have to stand up against the end zone and maybe get in trouble that way. You got more room to kick the ball, and that's why that play was a halfway decent executed play.
Barnhart to punt for the second time to Kelvin Martin. Cowboys came after it. Another excellent kick by Barnhart. Martin all the way back to the 31-yard line. And the return to the 41-yard line. .110 to play in the first quarter, 7-0 Dallas. Stadium in Irving, Texas. Sean McDonough and Hank Stram, delighted to have you with us for this pivotal NFC matchup between New Orleans and Dallas. The Cowboys have scored the only points in this game on a very impressive touchdown drive of more than 9 minutes. And they have the football back, 1st and 10 at their own 41-yard line.
And the Cowboys on 1st and 10, first down, ran twice, threw 4 passes.
And when they threw, they frequently threw in the direction of Milton Mack, number 24. Vince Buck, a starting cornerback up until last week, out for the rest of the year with a pinched nerve and a narrowing of his spinal column. Mack just came off injured reserve after 8 weeks of inactivity with a pulled left hamstring. Mark Lee has also been added to the roster of the New Orleans Saints, as he was waived earlier in the week by San Francisco.
Yes, and he's a corner, and he will be the 5th defensive back when they come in with the nickel and when they have come in with the nickel.
Erline, good play action take to Smith. Wide open, Michael Irvin. Out of bounds at the 37-yard line of New Orleans, a gain of 21.
The Saints that time in an even defense with Swilling on the outside. See him coming on the backside, play action fake, and the left tackle Tuanay gets a good block on Swilling on the inside, provides the quarterback Erline to get the ball out there in plenty of time. No pass rush whatsoever on the play action fake.
Erline gives it to Smith. For a nice hole, he's down to a 32-yard line, tackled by Sam Mills. Mills has not played quite as well in recent weeks, as he's been bothered by a gimpy right knee that will probably require surgery when the season is over.
Yeah, he really isn't playing with a slow leak. He doesn't have a flat tire, but it's a slow leak. He's not 100% well. He's having trouble with it, and he's such a great competitor, such a great player that he's playing in spite of it, but naturally wouldn't be able to play as well as he has in the past when he was totally healthy.
Mills did not practice at all this week for the New Orleans Saints. The pitch back to Smith. He's in trouble and down for a loss back to the 33-yard line. He lost 1. Again, it was Mills at the bottom of the pile.
Yeah, see, that. Remember we talked about that earlier. You're not going to run outside on the Saints, especially when Swilling is that far outside of the offensive tackle.
Steve Walsh and Bobby Hebert. When will Hebert come back? Really, the key during this losing streak has been the defense has not been anywhere near as dominant as they were earlier, and we're seeing that again here today.
No, and they're not playing with nearly as much emotion as they normally play in front of their great fans in New Orleans. That's who they need. They need those fans here to get them going.
3rd and 6 for the Cowboys. Erline throws short. Looking again for Irvin. Good coverage from Milton Mack. That'll set up 4th down and 6, and the field goal unit will come on for the Cowboys.
The reputation, Milton Mack has a great reputation as being a cover guy, especially with bump and run, man-for-man coverage. They say he has somewhat of a problem when he has to back off, but he played that one very well.
This will be a 50-yard field goal attempt for Ken Willis. He's 2 for 4 this year from 50 yards and out with a career long of 54.
The Saints are very good at blocking kicks. This would be a big play for New Orleans if they could block this kick and get halfway decent field position.
Jay Novacek is the holder. And it is good. Ken Willis from 50 yards away gives Jimmy Johnson and the Cowboys a 10-0 lead.
He hit that one right on the button.
And a big make for Willis, who had missed 5 field goals the last 2 weeks. Still battling for home field advantage throughout the playoffs. Denver, Houston, New Orleans, and the Raiders can clinch playoff berths with wins today. And there are 20 teams still alive for playoff berths, including the Dallas Cowboys. We mentioned earlier, Dallas, if they win all 3 of the remaining games, are definitely in. There are other possibilities for their entry into the playoffs. They cannot guarantee themselves a bid in the playoffs, regardless of how they do today. They're doing very well at the moment. Excellent special teams tackle by Stan Smagala as he dropped Gil Fennerty at the 16-yard line. Very poor field position again for the New Orleans offense.
Yeah, that's a big problem for the Saints so far. They started their first drive on the -21, then the 10, then they wound up on the 1-yard line. They've been in the gumbo, so to speak, so far, and they need better field position to get back into this contest.
San Diego with the early lead at Kansas City on a John Freese touchdown pass to Nate Lewis. Walsh sets up the screen to Buford Jordan. Good blocking. Good cut back to the inside to pick up the first down out of the 28-yard line.
A good-looking play. Play action fake screen. A counter. They faked a counter play. And Walsh does a good job of selling the play like he's going to throw the ball to the right side. And Jordan does a good cutback and makes a nice gain on the play. Good-looking, very good-looking play by the Saints.
For a gain of 11 before Vincent Smith made the tackle. 10-0 Dallas in the opening moments of the second quarter. In a play action fake. Jordan out of backfield. Out of bounds, short of the first down at the 35-yard line. Again, it was Vincent Smith, the third-year linebacker out of East Carolina, who made the play.
The Saints have to continue to throw play action passes, especially on the fringe, because they're playing a 4-3 with 3 linebackers a lot of the time inside, worried about the run. As a result, the flat should be open like they have been on the last 2 plays. And then if they get the linebackers out of there, then they can run again. But I think the play action pass is going to be vitally important.
2nd and 2. The 33-yard line. Tackle made by Vincent Smith. Coming up next on CBS Sports, it's Sports Sunday, featuring the Chrysler Plymouth Tournament of Champions from Deer Valley, Utah. History's greatest skiers meet in the second in a series of 3 events. That's coming up next.
They guessed wrong on that last play. There was a blitz coming in on the strong side of the tight end side. They tried to run a trap inside, and everybody was in the gap, and as a result, no chance to make yardage on the play. So look at all the moves they got on the right side. 1 for 1. The defensive back on the right side of the offense is back about 12 yards. There it is, boys.
And they complete it for a first down out to Quinn Early at the 41-yard line. The former San Diego Chargers signed away on Plan B by the Saints. The pass to him, gained 8. Good
read on the part of Steve Walsh.
At the 41-yard line.
You got to take advantage of that. I don't care what play you have called. If you got that much of a cushion on the outside, you can't waste plays going inside. You got to get the ball outside and let the back or let the receiver run with it and make the guy make an open field tackle one-on-one.
41-yard line, 1st and 10. This is the deepest penetration for the Saints today. They've yet to be in Dallas territory, and they really had it picked off by Larry Brown, the cornerback, a 12th round draft pick this season, who's become a starter out of TCU.
But here again, look what the play action pass does. Look at all the time Walsh had in the pocket. And he's faking with the ball. A lot of teams fake with a hand. You're not going to run with somebody's hand. You're going to run with a ball. You got to fake the ball in there. There he is. He fakes the ball, not close enough as he should. Look at all the time. Look at all the room he's got. And evidently there was miscommunication with the receiver, the quarterback that time. Look at the double team on Maryland. They put the vice on him.
Second and 10. 10-0 Dallas. 12:04 to play in the first half. Fred McAfee with the carry. Out to the 44. James Washington tripped him up.
That time it was kind of a sprint draw where they looked like they might hand the ball off tackle or play action. They give it to the back, and he makes nice yardage on the play.
You see Washington, he's a Plan B player, as is the other starting safety, Ray Horton. Brown, a starting corner, a 12th round pick. Jimmy Johnson told us yesterday that as he looks to continue to improve the Cowboys, the defensive secondary is the first place he's going to try to make some improvements.
Look at all the room on the right side again. The defensive back over there is way off.
Pass is caught. Eric Martin collared, but not before he picked up a first down at the 48-yard line, tackled by Manny Hendricks.
Martin catches the ball coming across the middle as well as anybody in the National Football League. He's not afraid to get hit. There's the pass protection. And there you see him crossing. Right about the time he takes a step, he gets hit from the backside. But the important thing is he maintained possession of the ball, and they pick up the necessary yardage for the first down.
Martin has caught a pass now in 71 consecutive games and in 107 of the 109 games in his career.
Look at all the room they got now on the left side.
Run to the right. McAfee ran into Jack Del Rio.
Oh, that's murder. Murder. Well, they had a great situation on the left side that time. One-on-one from a passing standpoint and room to run on the inside of the defensive linebacker. Watch that front four of the Cowboys coming off the ball. The linebacker blitzing. They're trying to trap him. They're trying to trap Del Rio, 55, the middle linebacker, who was blitzing on the play. But they didn't get there in time, and as a result, Cooper was trying to make that play. The left tackle, number 71.
He did not play last week as a result of a sprained left ankle. On 2nd and 13, Walsh incomplete. Had a man open. It was Floyd Turner, and the ball went through his hands right at the first down marker.
Walsh is a very good timing pattern guy. He gets back into the pocket with a 3 or a 5-step drop, and he releases the ball after the read. He reads very, very well. And as a result, that's why he hasn't been sacked except on 2 occasions coming into this game. He gets rid of the ball very fast.
A big difference between Walsh and Hebert in that area, as Hebert in his 7 games have been sacked 14 times.
But Hebert, a lot of people didn't realize, Hebert had a bad knee along with a bad shoulder, and he wasn't able to move like he normally used to move.
On 3rd and 13, the pass is caught by Quinn Early, but he was short of the first down at the 43-yard line, short by about 5 yards, and Bill Bates made sure that Early didn't get anywhere near that first down marker.
Walsh now gets rid of the ball, but watch him get a little massage right after he gets rid of the football. There it is. Tolbert puts him in the vice. I don't know who the other guy was, but they get a good shot at him. But you don't think it's a lot of fun in that pocket once you get rid of the football. People watch the flight of the ball. They don't see how the quarterback gets hit, usually from the blind side.
Barnhart hangs this one up. Martin calling for the fair catch, and it is made at the 12-yard line. Dallas goes back on offense with a 10-0 lead after this.
Ahoy, ye skaties.
Dallas has a 10-0 lead. Saints fans here in attendance, and Jim Mora has started to come under some criticism in New Orleans for some of his decisions during this recent slump.
Well, I think that's natural. That comes with the territory, with the job. I think, you know, the only thing that's really important is they win, and they're in a winning position. They control their own destiny. So after this many games, I think it's remarkable they've done so well.
Emmitt Smith out to the 14-yard line for a gain of 2. Join us Saturday for special coverage of the NFL on CBS. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers take on the Chicago Bears. The action starts at noon Eastern with the NFL Today. And following football, the road to the Final Four continues on CBS with defending national champion Duke visiting the Michigan Wolverines. That's all next Saturday on CBS. Well, it was fun to watch Jim Nantz and Billy Packer yesterday with an outstanding college basketball game between Kentucky and Indiana.
Really enjoyed it. It's right. They both did a great job.
On 2nd and 7. Smith weaved through the middle out to the 20, tackled by Jim Wilkes. He's 2 yards short of a first down.
And there again, they're going back to what they did initially on that first drive, keeping the ball up for 16 plays. You got to run right at New Orleans, and especially you got to keep the tight ends on those linebackers to give you room, because if you give, as I mentioned earlier, you give them space, you let them play in space, they're very hard to contain.
3rd and 2. Beuerlein 8 of 11 passing to this point.
They got to throw a hitch and go on that left corner here somewhere along the line, because they've thrown so many of them in front.
Beuerlein under pressure, threw short of Darrell Johnston. He had Swilling right in his face, and that would make any quarterback rush.
Well, the problem with that's another play-action pass. If you don't block Swilling, he's going to get you. Nobody touched him, and it's a wonder he got rid of the ball like he did.
For an NFL Today report, let's go to Greg Gumbel in New York.
All right, Sean, in Chicago, ex-Bear Mike Tomczak rolling out, finds Jackie Harris for the 1-yard touchdown. Second quarter, the Packers lead the Bears 10-7, Sean.
Thank you, Greg. Green Bay gave Atlanta all it could handle. Really seemed to have that game won last week before the Falcons escaped. Now the Bears will have to come from behind against Lindy Infante's team. Kennedy hit immediately, and again it was Stan Smagala. There is a flag down back at the line of scrimmage, and it's for an ineligible man downfield against Dallas. Moore would have pretty good field position at the 39 if he elected to turn down that penalty.
They probably want to get as much.
There was no foul on the play. There was no foul on the play.
Oh, now the players are going back off the field.
So Jim Moore does not have to make the decision. 10-0 Dallas. We're back after this. During the week with the Cowboys, still bothered by sprained ligament in his right knee, and as you noted earlier, he hopes to play next week against Philadelphia. I don't know if that would be the team I'd want to come back and have to play against.
No, I'd question that. You know, but I watched him in a pregame warm-up. I was surprised that he threw the ball, got back in the pocket nicely, and pushed off the right leg. Threw a lot better than I thought he would. Saints have to do something right here. They got to be on the attack. They got to throw a play. This would be a good time for a play-action fake or some kind of a draw play. Let's see what they do.
On 1st and 10 from their own 40. Play-action pass, and it is nearly intercepted. Fine play by Isaac Holt as he read that one.
Boy, he really did. He looked like he was playing the outside move. He had help on the inside. It was a good fake. Plenty of time to throw the football, but that was a good call.
Green Bay still with a 3-point lead over Chicago. Greg Gumbel gave you the update on that one moments ago. Now 14-0 San Diego, as Donald Frank returned an interception, 71 yards for the Chargers. And New England still leads 3-0 on Charlie Bauman's 24-yard field goal. Fred McAfee, good hole. He's close to a first down near midfield, tackled by Ray Horton.
Watch the pulling lineman on the right side, and this is what Fred likes to run. He said it's his favorite play. Right tackle, right guard pulling on the play. He goes through the cavity and picks up a nice gain on the play.
McAfee on the practice squad until the 7th week of the season. He did pick up the first down.
You got to remember, the Saints have to remember, they're only a play and a half away from being right back in this game. Look at all the room on the right side. Look at the outside receiver. You can't even see the defensive back.
Walsh looks in that direction. Buford Jordan out of the backfield. Quality game down to the 42-yard line. This pick of the day. Vincent Smith made the tackle.
See, they're so concerned about stopping the run that stuff on the outside's got to be there. It's like stealing. Like stealing. Here it is again. Watch it. Look at those two linebackers in the inside. Look at how deep outside the ends are. Look at all that room. And look at the defensive back, how deep he was. And Walsh gets another shot. Watch this. Low. Kind of tripped over more than he got hit.
2nd and 2. 3 catches today for Buford Jordan, who goes in motion, and Dalton Hilliard has checked in for New Orleans. And he has it. And has the first down at the 34. Great news for Saints fans. The return of Hilliard, who's been on IR since November 2nd with an arch injury. Saints still awaiting the return of Craig Hayward. We're at Texas Stadium in Irving, Texas, home of the Cowboys, as they look for their 5th consecutive home win. And they lead New Orleans 10-0. Saints fans chanting, and that has the Dallas faithful going.
Look at all that right side again. You know, that's there for them anytime they want to do it. They're missing an opportunity to take advantage of that coverage.
Walsh instead comes near side. Eric Martin goes for another first down at the 25-yard line, tackled by Larry Brown.
Well, that's another hitch pattern they're throwing in front of the defensive backs, but again, the defensive back on the right side was a lot closer up than it was on the far side. The far side were about 12 yards deep. Here you see this situation and this situation. Look at all the room in here. And that's where you ought to be able to throw the ball in front of the defensive back anytime you want. Look at all the room he's got.
What Steve Walsh might be thinking, though, Hank, is to that right side of the field where he had more room. Isaac Holt was the defensive back, where Larry Brown, the 12th round draft pick and rookie, was to the near side.
But it doesn't make any difference when the guy's back there 12 yards. I don't care who's back there, whether it's Jesse Owens. It's still, you got to throw in front of the guy.
I think Jimmy Johnson would like to have Jesse Owens. At the 24 of Dallas. 1st and 10, New Orleans. They trail 10-0. Fred McAfee. Slipped down a couple of times, managed to gain 1.
McAfee said yesterday that he likes most backs from the I formation like to get back about 7.5 yards. He likes to get back 8.5 yards because he can see better and permit the lineman to get a better chance at making their blocks, and he can cut off those blocks. That time he'd have been much better off to start right and then cut back, because they were pursuing so strongly that he would have made a lot yardage if he could have had a chance to cut back on the play.
Best drive for the Saints. This is 2nd down and 9.
There's that right side again.
Tice is wide open. Nice catch. He's banged out of bounds at the 19-yard line by James Washington. Short of the first down is Tice by about 4 yards.
The Saints are throwing a lot more play-action passes than they did earlier in the season when we saw them play about 3 times. And this is a good dimension for their offense, because they like to run the ball, and anytime you run the ball as well as they try to run it, why the play-action pass can be very, very effective.
Chris Port, the injured offensive lineman. We are back in a moment.
It was December 17th, 1903, near Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. And despite a wind of 22 to 27 miles per hour, Wilbur and Orville Wright were determined to meld man and machine with the thrill of powered flight. Their new machine, the Flyer, with its 12-horsepower engine and 40-foot wingspan, was aimed directly into the wind on a 60-foot track. Then, with a toss of a coin...
Well, Wilbur, it looks like it's up to you. Wish me luck.
Good luck.
That day, the brothers made a total of 4 flights, the best being one of 853 feet airborne for 59 seconds, with Wilbur as pilot. They got the new era of flight off the ground, and it stayed there. It was a great moment in the unique tradition of America.
Some people say they choose their cigarettes for taste. But we find that a little hard to swallow. Cigarettes, they're enough to make you sick.
10-0 Dallas, and moments ago, Chris Port was injured for New Orleans.
Watch Chris Port here on this play. The right guard, he's pulling to the right. And look at the defensive player fall on the ankle. And I think that's what created the problem.
He did walk off under his own power as Tony Casillas fell on that right ankle.
Yeah, it didn't look like he caved in on it.
Already too many injuries up front on offense for New Orleans. Looking
blitz.
At third down. And through the blitz, it is caught. Hit early with a first down for New Orleans down to the 7-yard line. Tackled by Larry Brown.
Makes a big difference. You see how they're executing now. They got more of an opportunity to open up their offense. They didn't have good field position on the first 2 drives. Watch this now. Look at the blitz coming right up the middle. And Walsh got a whiff of it as they were coming, stepped up into the pocket, put something on it, got the ball right where it had to be thrown at the numbers. And it's a big play and a first down about the 9-yard or 7-yard line.
Gain of 12. Walsh on this drive is 5 for 6. He has hit 5 different receivers. McAfee, nothing there. Chris Port has been replaced, by the way, by number 66, Larry Williams, the 4th year offensive lineman out of Notre Dame, who left the University of San Diego Law School. He'd given up his football career after he had been bothered by some injuries, but the Saints talked him into returning, and they need him with Steve Trapillo out for the year with a knee injury, Derek Kennard out with torn muscles in his chest.
You know, people don't realize how many injuries this New Orleans Saints team has had, especially with their offensive backfield. Their whole backfield has been shot. They've lost some linemen. They lost Trapillo going into the season. They've had all kinds of problems, but in spite of that, they're still on top of the heap.
10th play of the drive, 10-0 Dallas. Touchdown, Eric Martin.
You talk about a fastball. Look at this. Look at this. Watch him step, follow through, and throw that ball right into the void. Void meaning that the area between the linebackers. Great throw by Steve Walsh, and good protection on the play.
Morton Anderson adds the extra point. He has now made 86 in a row. Fourth touchdown reception of the year for Eric Martin. And many fans have made the trip from New Orleans to Dallas. They have something to cheer about for the first time today. It's 10-7 Cowboys.
This might get them back on a trolley line. They were not sharp initially, but again, that was partly due to the fact they had bad field position, but they're very much back in this game.
A nifty drive engineered by Steve Walsh. Most of the damage done of the drive through the air. 10 plays and 60 yards. It took 5 minutes. And Walsh capped it with an 8-yard pass to Eric Martin.
I was impressed with Steve yesterday when we talked about his situation at quarterback. He was very candid. He said, I think I'm in good shape with the offense, but I think the defense resents me a little bit. They think that Hebert should be the quarterback, and I understand that, justifiably so, but that's why there's a little bit more pressure on me than there normally would be.
Steve Walsh said yesterday that the most difficult thing to do in the National Football League is to earn the respect of your teammates. Bobby Hebert has been in New Orleans for 5 years. Steve Walsh, a virtual newcomer. And as you pointed out, he feels the offensive teammates are comfortable with him. The defensive guys, probably, in the opinion of Walsh, prefer Bobby Hebert.
Well, I think the only way you can remedy that problem, if it is a problem, is to win. Just win, 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 and eventually you earn the right to get that respect.
Anderson will kick off. The New Orleans special teams have had a couple of disasters in the last 3 games. 2 kickoffs returned for touchdowns. One by Nate Lewis in San Diego 3 weeks ago, and one last week by Dexter Carter of San Francisco.
I want to touch on that too, Sean, a little bit, because you know what happens when you have a great kicker like Morton Anderson, or like we had at Kansas City with Jan Stenerud. They consistently kick the ball out of the end zone, so the people covering those kicks, they kind of feel that it's always going to go out of the end zone. They relax a little bit, and all of a sudden one doesn't go out. The guy catches it and brings it back for a touchdown, and that's a problem. I don't care how much you talk about it. You got to keep selling the idea that you know the ball, you got to cover like it's going to be returned, not like it's going out of the end zone.
35 touchbacks, leading the NFL this year for Anderson. Alexander Wright brought that kickoff back to the 30. Line to throw on first down, incomplete. Good coverage on the play by Toy Cook as he reached over the shoulder of Alvin Harper.
Harper made a big mistake that time. He went into the void, squatted, waited for the ball, didn't come back to the ball. Had he come back for the ball, why, he would have had a chance to make that catch, and Toy Cook never would have had a chance to knock it down. Watch what he does. Watch what he does here. See, he stands there. He doesn't come back to the ball at all, and Toy Cook, the good defensive back that he is, he knocked the ball down.
2nd and 10. 10-7 Dallas. We approach the 2-minute warning in the first half. Flags down. Looked like the Saints were offside as Emmitt Smith is out to the 37-yard line.
It was Swilling, I think, offside on the right side. Somebody on the right side was offside. It looked like it was anyhow.
Emmitt Smith to the 37-yard line. Brought down by Brett Maxey.
That is the case. The decision for Jimmy Johnson to play gain 7. The penalty would give him 5 yards, but he would not have to use up a down. Jimmy Johnson saying we want the penalty. Judge Hank Stram made the right call. It was Pat Swilling.
Yeah, it looked like he was laying. Look how wide he is. That's what I mean when he's in space. See all the room he's got out there? That's when he's very, very dangerous. You put a tight end on him, then, of course, it's a totally different picture.
2nd and 5. Smith. First down, Dallas. Great run of 6 yards for Emmitt Smith. Some nifty footwork through the middle to pick up the first down. At the 2-minute warning, it's the Cowboys 10 and the Saints 7.
I'm Brooke Shields with American Treasury. Few of the legacies left us by residents of the White House are as charming as the one left us by a young woman who once lived there. Her legacy after this.
AFRTS is more than just your local station. It's a worldwide service that delivers the best in programming wherever Americans are stationed. Nobody delivers like AFRTS.
Alice Roosevelt was 17 when her father Theodore became president. The country was as charmed by her as it was by the man called T.R. Little Alice got a special honor of her own when a designer developing a blue-gray color for her new gown decided to call the new shade Alice Blue because it went with Alice's striking blue eyes. The color was so popular that it inspired a song which is now a classic, In My Sweet Little Alice Blue Gown. It's a fact in the Library of Congress. Learn about Alice Roosevelt in your library.
What do these women have in common? They were all Girl Scouts. Girl Scouting showed them that they could do or be anything. An ambassador to the United Nations or an Olympic champion. Girl Scouting inspires girls to dream big and prepares them to meet the challenges of a demanding adult world. Your daughter should be a Girl Scout. She'll be in very good company, and she'll get the right start.
Coming up on the NFL Today Dockers halftime report, Greg and Terry will have all the scores, highlights, and latest information from around the National Football League. Sean McDonough and Hank Stram delighted to be in Dallas for the Cowboys and the New Orleans Saints. With 2 minutes to play in the first half, it's 10-7 Cowboys. And they have it 1st and 10 at their own 41-yard line. Berline looking for Novacek. Whoa! Incomplete and nearly intercepted by Toy Cook.
Toy Cook has great anticipation, great understanding of what's happening, reads formations very well, and that was a great illustration on that last play. Good anticipation, almost came up with the interception.
And really a poor decision by Berline, as there was plenty of coverage in that area.
See, he puts a lot of air under the ball. There was double coverage, long and short. And as a result, Jackson was coming in from the backside, and of course, Toy Cook was coming from behind.
On 2nd and 10, the handoff to Emmitt Smith. And he's out to the 46-yard line for a gain of 5. Wayne Martin made the tackle.
They run that sprint draw play very efficiently, talking about the Cowboys. They make a fake and then, of course, look like it's going to go one way, and then they give the ball to Emmitt Smith. And he's very, very proficient at running that play. He's got good eyes, good balance, good vision.
Berline understands his role with this football team. The man you just saw, Troy Aikman, is clearly number 1. Berline said, I am here to play if Aikman gets hurt. Berline going deep. It is incomplete. Looking for Irvin. Milton Mack was running stride for stride with him. The Saints did look, as you noted, Hank, a little bit lethargic when the game started, but with their recent successes, you can see the emotion level rising.
Yeah, they're back in business, and I told you earlier in the program, he does a very good job of bump and run. Matt, see, he's with them step for step, turns at the right time, and gets a piece of the ball. That's the best thing he does. You cannot run right. You cannot run right by him. You got to make a move and then get behind him. You can do it that way, but you're not going to run right by him when he's in bump and run.
Mike Saxon. Fair catch called for and made by Gil Kennedy at the 17-yard line. A 37-yard punt and no return. Saints with all 3 of their timeouts left, with 1 minute and 1 second remaining in the first half, and Dallas leads by 3. In the past, Jim Mora has been known in this situation to play it close to the vest.
Yeah, I think that playing, there's a time to play it close to the vest, but I think there's another. This is a good time to be on the attack and try to get something done, try to make something happen. They got to be careful they don't throw an interception, do something silly, but I think they have to be on the attack. They got plenty of time, and at least maybe get a chance to kick a field goal. That's what the mentality has to be. To get some points on the board.
They do open this possession with 4 wideouts. And Walsh throws, great catch, juggled but caught by Floyd Turner for a gain out to the 22 of 5 yards, and the Saints will go without a huddle. Again, 4 wideouts with Kennedy, the lone back. On 2nd and 5, down to 38 seconds to play in the half. 37-yard line.
I tell you, that's a big league throw by Walsh that time. The right defensive end was coming. I think it was Jeffcoat, and almost got a piece of it. And he dodged him enough, just enough to get rid of the football. Watch it here. Look at this. Right about the time he was going to get hit, he got rid of the football accurately, right on the button. Great throw by Steve Walsh.
14 of 18 today for Steve Walsh. And he is connected on his last 8, and now the umpire stops the play, which would indicate a replay review.
Play is being reviewed by instant replay.
Question is, was Wesley Carroll in bounds when he made the catch?
And also, did he have total control of the football when he was coming down? Let's see what he called. Let's see what happens. We got the replay. Let's see. He's got the ball. Got possession.
Got 2 feet down. That's a catch. And the Saints are already coming up to the line in anticipation of the play standing.
Walsh is doing a good job of spraying the ball around. He's hit 7 different receivers so far in the game. I mentioned this earlier about Steve. He's got terrific vision and great anticipation.
Play stands as ruled.
And reads defenses very quickly.
Walsh has hit on his last 8 pass attempts. 1st and 10. Saints at their own 37.
They had to run a crossing pattern in the middle. Yep.
It's Eric Martin with the catch, and a quick timeout called by Walsh. That's a first down out of the 48-yard line with 26 seconds left in the first half.
You know, I've always wanted to ask this.
Steve Walsh wouldn't call last week's performance against San Francisco, in which he set career highs for completions and yardage, his best game, and I think the only reason why he wouldn't was because they lost the game.
Yeah, that's I think what he indicated. Now they got 23 seconds. They got 2 timeouts. They got a good chance still to get in within field goal territory. He's got to throw the ball in the middle again. Whoop.
Off the hand of Kennedy and incomplete.
Looked like he hit him on the shoulder pads and bounced right off.
Bill Bates with the coverage. 2nd and 10. Saints at their own 49. They need at least another first down, you would think, to get into field goal range for Morton Anderson, who does have a 60-yarder to his credit this year.
Yeah, they ought to try to get the ball down inside about the 25-yard line. 30 be a 25-yard pass, and that would put Anderson in good field goal position.
2nd and 10. 22 seconds and 2 timeouts left for the Saints. Walsh with plenty of time goes too high for Turner. Good coverage. Jimmy Johnson said yesterday we never get a coverage sack. He said, I'm not disappointed with our rush people. Our secondary never gives us the time for a coverage sack. They came very close that time.
49-yard line.
How about the guy that caught the ball on the sideline? They ought to sign him up.
Yes,
He did a
indeed.
good job. He didn't have gloves on or anything. No sticking gloves, anything. He made a good catch over there.
San Diego still with a 14-0 lead over Kansas City. They've gone to the half in Cleveland. Indianapolis on an Eric Dickerson 1-yard run now leads 14-3 over New England.
You got to get the ball in the middle. They're protecting the outside.
Whoop! Flag down. Kennedy to catch. He lost the football. It's recovered by the Saints with 6 seconds left, but there was a flag thrown in the backfield, thrown by the referee, Pat Haggerty, where you would expect a holding call. Floyd Turner recovered Kennedy's fumble.
Holding. Number 72 offense.
Jim Dombrowski. Jim today making his 72nd consecutive start, and that is the longest current streak by any New Orleans Saint. Saints have been penalized 4 times now. The Cowboys have not been penalized here in the first half. And with 6 seconds left, 2 timeouts remaining, Steve Walsh uses one of them to discuss the situation.
Dress safely, ride safely. That's real stuff.
Going to Hail Mary.
There's Mike Buck, who earlier this year snuck into a game when Walsh faked an injury to throw a long pass. They thought he had better arm strength. He was warming up a moment ago, which led us to believe that they might bring him in a situation that calls for a long throw.
Yeah, I think they were thinking and deliberating a little bit about maybe throwing a Hail Mary pass down the sideline with the hope and expectation they'd have a penalty or something happen where they had a chance to kick a field goal and get a touchdown.
On 3rd and 20, Walsh throws incomplete. Closest man was Isaac Holt. 1 second left, and time for one more long throw down the field for Steve Walsh.
Couldn't tell where he was trying to throw the ball on that last play. Threw it very low, and it looked like it was like a slider. Went to the outside, didn't it?
Carl Smith, the offensive coordinator, with the headset around his neck. And now Mike Buck has come into the game for Jim Moore.
Yeah, they'll throw a shot downfield, I'm sure, with the hope that the old Big Dent play or Hail Mary, whatever you want to call it.
Walsh out. Buck's only NFL snap was in that game against Atlanta at the Superdome on November 24th when he completed a 61-yard flea flicker to Floyd Turner. He had to throw off his back foot under pressure. And it is caught by a Dallas Cowboy. Intercepted by Gant. Kenneth Gant, second-year player out of Albany State, with his first interception. That's the end of the first half with the score. The Dallas Cowboys 10 and the New Orleans Saints 7.
I'm Richard Dean Anderson with American Treasury. A faraway place, a new technology, a surefire formula for adventure, and a place in history. Roger Fenton's adventure after this.
The Bugle, sounding the call for American fighting forces for over 100 years. An important part of our American military heritage.
Englishman Roger Fenton was shot at constantly during the Crimean War in the mid-1850s. But Fenton's own shots were aimed mostly at troops on his own side. His weapon? A camera. Fenton's photographic van, a carriage bought from a wine merchant, served as storage and sleeping quarters and became the first portable darkroom. Roger Fenton brought home hundreds of pictures, becoming the first photographer to cover a war. His pictures are in the Library of Congress. Learn more about photography in your library.
Your baby can be born addicted, brain damaged, emotionally and physically scarred for life if you do drugs and alcohol while you're pregnant. The more you know about drugs and alcohol, you know they just don't get you high. They get into your unborn baby. If you really love your baby, you should protect it even before it's born.
Welcome back to our studios, everyone. All of you who have been watching football being played in Texas Stadium and Soldier Field. Greg Gumbel along with Terry Bradshaw. Let's run down the scores and highlights for you, beginning with the game in Dallas, where the Cowboys are leading the Saints by a score of 10-7. Saints with a win can clinch a playoff berth. Troy Aikman looking on. His sub, Steve Berline, will roll right on 2nd and goal and find number 48, Darrell Johnston, for the 1-yard touchdown run. Cowboys were up, and then Steve Walsh came right back with the Saints.
Nice job by Walsh. Notice a quick set. One thing Walsh will not do, he will not hold the ball long. Eric Martin slowed it down, allowed that time Walsh to go ahead and pop him with the football.
Walsh 14 of 18 for 121 yards and a touchdown, but the Saints trailed by 3 at halftime. Meanwhile, at the Meadowlands, with under a minute to play now, the Giants are turning on the defensive pressure today, leading the Philadelphia Eagles by a score of 14-3. There's Randall Cunningham in the street clothes on the sidelines, and Phil Simms engineering a touchdown drive.
This is a great look at Phil. This is a guy you think can't move around, but he gets pressure. He steps up, turns around, finds Meggett, gets him the ball.
Now, the Giants defense put quarterback Jim McMahon out with a bruised chest. He is questionable for a second-half return. Meanwhile, Simms again will find Dave Meggett out of the backfield.
Well, there are a lot of ways to slow down a pass rush, and this is one of them. Allow them to get near the quarterback. This is a screen. Another job, nice job by Meggett to get in the end zone again.
One interception so far for the Giants, who have put pressure on the Eagles all day long. Jeff Kemp is quarterbacking right now. It's 14-3 Giants. The Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears at halftime. The Bears leading Green Bay 21-13, and the Bears looking to get a step up on the Detroit Lions. Brad Muster has 2 touchdown runs in the first half today. This one is 6 yards, and the Bears are leading Green Bay by a score of 21-13. Halftime in the Astrodome, Oilers can clinch the AFC Central with a victory. They are leading the Steelers by a score of 10-3. San Diego on top of the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City by 2 touchdowns. John Freese has thrown a TD pass there. Denver and Cleveland, a 7-7 tie at halftime in Cleveland. And at New England, the Indianapolis Colts are leading the Patriots 14-3 at the intermission. We'll take a time out here, and the NFL Today continues on CBS after this word from your local station. Welcome back to our New York studios, everyone. On Monday night in the Astrodome, the Oilers experienced a failure to communicate. Watch Houston quarterback Warren Moon lose one of 2 fumbled snaps, a sin his coach found unpardonable.
When it happens twice in a game, that's 2 more times it should happen in a season. I have no idea why Mark it was there. It's something that, we can't have that.
Certainly cannot. What's happening down in Houston?
It's simple. You're not going to believe this, but this is a quarterback's fault. I want you to look at the center Matthews. This is only Clay Matthews. This is only his 14th game to start. But look how high his shoulders are. But look how low his butt is compared with everyone else. Notice how level they are. Now, his problem is he's got to block Pitts, the nose tackle. He has a man over him. The guard has a man over him, and the left tackle has a man over him. So now Moon, whose hands are right here, nice and firm, Moon has to realize this guy is being blocked by my center. I got to help him out by keeping my hands here and ride with him as he fires off the football. Now watch what happens. Matthews says, I got to block the nose tackle. Now, whoa, Moon leaves his hands here, but look, the butt has moved forward. Moon should very simply have just kept his hands under there and had ridden with the center Matthews. Therefore, they wouldn't have had the fumble. First thing you got to know, if there's a man over my center, I have to ride and stay with him longer.
All right, Terry, 15 turnovers in 3 weeks. Not good at all for the Oilers. Right now, time to send you back to the stadium and the game you're watching here on CBS.
Thank you, Greg. Here in Irving, Texas, at the half, the Cowboys have a 10-7 lead over the New Orleans Saints, and we'll have second half action after this. Texas Stadium at halftime, the Dallas Cowboys with a 10-7 lead over the New Orleans Saints. Sean McDonough and Hank Stram, happy to have you with us. Dallas got off to a 10-0 lead in this one. They opened the game most impressively. Their first drive went for more than 9 minutes and was capped on a touchdown pass. Steve Berline to Darrell Johnston.
And Steve was hot in the first half, and he started very quickly and very efficiently. He slowed down a little bit, and Walsh then came on very strong, and he's done a terrific job in the late stages of the first half.
A 50-yard field goal by Ken Willis made it 10-0 before the Saints finally got on the board on a touchdown pass from Walsh to Eric Martin.
And there you see him coming on the inside, on the right side of your screen. And Walsh really does a great job of throwing the ball in the void between the linebacker and the corner. It's really a fastball, really a driller.
And the two teams' fortunes in the first half really reflected the play of their quarterbacks. Berline got off to a fast start in the first quarter, then cooled off. He missed on his last 5 pass attempts of the half. Walsh, a so-so start. He really picked it up in the second quarter.
Yeah, and of course, I think the big difference as the game went along was the fact that the Saints had better field position, and they took good advantage of it. And I like the fact that they were on the attack, even at the end before the half. They were trying to make something happen, trying to generate some points, and that's the kind of a game they have to play in the second half if they're going to win this game.
And you can see the difference between the first and second quarter. First half basically dominated by Dallas, first quarter rather, and the second quarter dominated by New Orleans.
This is interesting. Morton Anderson usually kicks him out of the end zone, but outside, he's usually about 6 yards shorter than he is inside the dome. There's not much wind here today, and so it'll be interesting to see how far he kicks it.
75% of his kickoffs indoors have been for touchbacks. That would have been a field goal. Outdoors only 29%. I guess the question is, Hank, what is this stadium? Is it indoors? It's outdoors? A little bit of both.
Well, you know, it's a funny thing. This stadium inside is like an indoor stadium because there's no wind. We came in here walking into the stadium. The wind was unbelievable. And then we walked in. We're down on the field. There was no wind whatsoever. So that illustrates and demonstrates why he was able to pump the ball right through the end zone. Look at him. He's happy as can be about the way he hit that one, and justifiably so.
Well, they won't give him the 3 that would have tied the score. Beautiful day here in Texas. 76 degrees, the game time temperature. Interesting to see if the unseasonably warm temperature takes its toll in the second half. Burline right on the money. Alvin Harper tackled by Toy Cook at the 35-yard line. Out and throwing is Burline, a 15-yard gain to the rookie Harper.
Zone coverage on the play. Toy Cook is back. Swilling is coming from the outside, but they do a good job of protecting him. Burline throws over the top of the short man in front of Toy Cook, who was deep, and they pick up a nice gain on the play. Ricky Jackson was underneath coverage.
First and 10, Dallas from their own 35. Back to the run with Smith. And he's hit hard after a gain of 2. Again, it was Sam Mills.
Sam Mills is amazing how he can react and respond and read what's happening. And he, because of his size, likes to get back a little deeper than normal so he can get the angles as people pull. He's very quick to anticipate what's going to happen, gets into the gaps very well. And there was an illustration of it on the last play. He makes the tackle.
Saw Bobby Hebert doing some throwing along the near sideline with Mike Buck, but there's nothing wrong with Steve Walsh. And we fully expect that Walsh will be the quarterback of the Saints going offense here in the second half. Burline, Buck. First down, Dallas. Alfredo Roberts, the 4th-year tight end out of the University of Miami, Florida.
Teams, I talked about that beginning of the second half. Both teams have to be on the attack. They can't be cautious. It's too big a game. Before yesterday, watch 61 Newton on Jackson. Jackson tries to go inside. That's tough. And Newton gives him a little push. And I asked Ricky about that yesterday. He said, well, I love to rush against the big guys. Got a taste of it there. He got caught inside.
On first and 10, back to the ground, and then it's Smith. He's ahead for 2. 14 carries now for Smith for 52 yards. Jim Wilkes made the tackle.
You know, the philosophy of the New Orleans Saints, you know, they want to keep you from running any more than 15 yards on any given play. They like to keep the passes under 20 and 25, and they do a terrific job of that. And but I think if you're going to win against the New Orleans defense, as I mentioned earlier, you must, I emphasize must, run right at them, and you got to have tight ends in the game to take care of those outside linebackers.
Second and 8. Just underway in the 3rd quarter. The Cowboys lead 10-7. Movement with no flags. Burline's pass caught by Michael Irvin. First down at the New Orleans 31-yard line.
Zone coverage again. Zone, and they're just taking their time and patiently picking apart the zone defense. Burline had plenty of time to throw the ball. The big thing about what's happening from a passing standpoint is that the rush, there's no really a strong rush on Burline. Here we look at it. There's a fake inside. Look at it. You've got plenty of time to throw the ball, and there is in the area of the zone. Toy Cook's on the outside. There's 3 people, kind of a triangle, and he threw it right in the middle of the triangle.
3 catches today for Irvin, 76 for the year. That ties the Dallas team record for receptions in a season. Emmett Smith tackled after a short gain. Herschel Walker caught 76 passes for the Cowboys back in 1986, and now Michael Irvin has equaled that record. He's also looking to set the single-season receiving yardage record. He needed 71 yards coming into today to catch Bob Hayes, a record set back in 1966. He has 53 yards receiving today. How about Irvin the last 2 games against Washington and Pittsburgh? 17 catches in those 2 ball games for 287 yards and 2 touchdowns, both of them game-winning touchdowns in the 4th quarter.
And he's their go-to guy. He feels very good about the fact that they have that much confidence in him.
Darrell Johnson to catch, tackled immediately by Pat Swilling at the 24-yard line, 3 yards short of a first down. So just as was the case at the beginning of the first half, Burline on the money at the start of the second half.
You know, Johnson has caught 21 passes coming into this game and averages 9.9, which is very good. You know, on a comparative basis, you figure the back should catch him for an average of 6 yards, tight end for 12, and receivers for 18. He's way above the average. And surprisingly, Emmett Smith is below the average.
8th play of the opening drive of the second half. 3rd and 3. Burline 4 for 4 on this drive. The wheel is too high for Kelvin Martin. Good coverage on the play by Toy Cook. Jimmy Johnson sends the field goal team on.
I'm surprised he threw that pass. Yeah, that's a low percentage kind of a pass. Tough one to complete.
I think Jimmy has the wrong headset on. You see on the ear flap there, it said Wise. Certainly Jimmy is a wise man, but they have an assistant coach, Tony Wise. I think that's his headset.
Probably can hear better. He got some of the wax out of the system.
Willis trying a 42-yarder out of the hold of Novacek. And it's good. Willis 2 for 2 today, a 50-yarder and now a 42-yarder. Cowboys lead 13-7 in Irving.
That didn't look like it was a good kick from where we looked at it.
Gene Atkins started at the 5, and he is crushed at the 18-yard line. He ran into Tony Hill. And also on the play was Derek Brownlow, number 59.
It looked like he ran away from the blocking that time. They kicked it. He catches the ball nice and high, right about number high. But he was on the left sideline and was trying to go all the way across the field and wound up getting tackled in the middle. I thought perhaps when he caught it on the sideline, he would go right down the sideline and get as much out of the play as he possibly could, going vertically up the field rather than horizontally.
1st and 10. Saints at their own 20. Quick pass. Turner gets a block from Quinn Early. And he's down at the 24 in the arms of Vincent Smith. Jim McMahon went out of that game against the Giants. Jeff Kemp is on as McMahon has been injured. Bears trailed the Packers early. They now have a lead of 8 points. Figure out that Kansas City team had.
Well, I tell you, the team that's tough to figure out is San Diego. Yes. Boy, they got a good-looking football team. They really have. They lost some very, very close games. They're big and they're strong, and they operate very efficient.
2nd and 5. Saints trail 13-7. McAfee threw a big hole. First down, New Orleans, out to the 36-yard line.
See, they're doing a little bit what the Cowboys are doing with that draw play, a sprint draw. And they're reading the block. Watch Dombrowski, number 72. They're coming right off of that block. Look at Maryland. And they get the push from the tackle. Look at the big hole right up the middle. Here we see it again. Look at that big cavity on the left side. Good lead block by Jordan. Look at that big hole. And he finally gets hit from the inside.
And they're still looking at McAfee along the near sideline. On 1st down, Kennedy threw a good hole. He's out near the 42-yard line before he was tripped up by Ken Norton.
Both teams are very similar in a lot of respects because really they're so quick and react so well to what they see on the outside. You got to slam it in there. You got to play a sledgehammer game and bang it in there straight ahead, just like both teams are doing against each other. But I think really the Saints are getting a lot bigger holes with their stuff than the Dallas Cowboys are getting.
Apparently McAfee is okay as he's back on his feet and ready to go. Kennedy just gained 6 at 2nd down and 4.
Look at all the room again on the right side outside. You don't even see the back of the picture.
Flag down. Kennedy down at the 46, very close to a first down. Flag thrown at the line of scrimmage. Cowboys were offside.
Here we are at the top of the screen. Look where this defensive back is. Look how deep he is. You ought to be able to do business and throw the ball in front of him anytime you want to. Look at that. He's off there about 12 yards. I don't think you can, pass up the opportunity to throw in front of those people when they play that deep.
You also saw in the replay the movement across the line of scrimmage by Tony Casillas.
Tony Casillas, who they got from the Atlanta Falcons, they feel he's been a great acquisition. He played very well early in the season, hasn't been able to play nearly as well since about the middle of the season because he's got a very, very bad elbow.
Defense. It's a first down.
That's the first penalty of the game against the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys lead 13-7. First and 10 New Orleans at their own 46.
They ought to throw again here. They're moving the ball well, and they got a combination. They can either run or play action.
McAfee's back in. They fake the McAfee. Tice is open. It is first down, Saints at the 39 of Dallas. Tripped up by Ray Horton.
Good time to throw the ball because they're ganged up there against the run. The play action fakes hold the linebacker so you can throw behind them. And Walsh is 7 out of 10. Now he's 8 out of 11. Look at there's no rush whatsoever on the play. Look at all the time he's got the step, throw, follow through. And he hits Tice coming across the middle on the big pass. I'd pump it up again. Do it again. Play action.
First and 10 at the Dallas 40. McAfee. For about 4 to the 36-yard line. Tony Tolbert made the tackle.
You know, the mentality of that kind of a play, a lot of times you make a big play with a play action, and then you say, well, we won't do that again because they're probably going to be watching for it. You know, it's a foolish way to look at it. Make them stop it before you change what you're doing successfully.
Jim Moore looking at a Dallas defense that is without Russell Maryland at the moment. They've been working on his right ankle. 3 tight ends in for the Saints on 2nd and 7.
Play action again.
Walsh down the middle. Great pitch by Hobie Brenner. The throw was a little bit high. He had to go in the air for it, and he got hit immediately by Ray Horton. Great catch by Brenner, the 11-year veteran from USC.
Yeah, and he's a big body. You got to really give him a shot to jar him loose from the ball. And Walsh again, a play action fake, and he sets up quickly right before the defensive lineman gets the hands up. Look at this hit. He keeps his body between the defensive back and the ball, and he maintains possession of it. Really a great play by Hobie Brenner.
242 career receptions for Brenner, 4th on the all-time Saints receiving list. McAfee, huge hole. He's down at the 11-yard line, close to a first down, tripped up by James Washington.
Yeah, they're doing a good job of moving the ball around. Look at the great blocking at the point of attack on the right side. Look at this big hole. You don't think that. Look at Brock knocking the defensive end way to the outside. The offensive line of the New Orleans Saints has really done a remarkable job. They're getting a good push, staying with their blocks, and creating great running room for their backs.
Saints need to hurry. They've spent a long time in the huddle. 8 seconds left to snap it. 3 seconds.
Look at outside there to the right.
They give to McAfee. And he picked up the first down. It was second and less than a yard, and McAfee makes it 1st and goal inside the 8-yard line. Jack Del Rio, the tackler.
I tell you, that's happening not by accident, but by design. The offensive line of the New Orleans Saints is really coming off the ball, doing a great job. You talk about Brock on the outside, Dombrowski, Hilgenberg.
Ninth play of the drive.
You might see a play action here. Let's see if we do. Look at all the room on the right side again. There's a play action.
To the end zone. Nearly intercepted. Wow. James Washington stepped in front of Hobie Brenner, and he nearly picked it off.
I tell you, I'm impressed with the way Walsh is getting back there after the fake. He's not spending a lot of time. He goes right back after the fake, thinking with the ball, gets back and sets and throws the ball with great anticipation and very accurate. Watch this again. Look at it. Watch the play action. Look at him quickly get set up. There he sees him in the void. But there again, Brenner never came back at all for the ball. He just stood there. Should have come back for the ball.
On 2nd and goal, Buford Jordan drives inside the 5. He's stacked up at the 4-yard line.
You talk about a 100% guy, Buford Jordan. I tell you, he's terrific. He's a good blocker, terrific blocker. He'll catch the ball. He'll run the ball. He'll do whatever it takes. He's a terrific player. And really, I don't think gets nearly the credit that he deserves playing that fullback position. You talk about a guy that gives it, dances every dance and plays every play. He does that.
Third and goal from just inside the 4. It is caught. Touchdown, Gil Kennedy.
A lot of Saints fans here. They're making a lot of racket over there. And again, the toughest catch in the world to make is a low one. Kennedy makes this low catch. Look at Walsh, looks to his right and throws to the right side. The ball is a little bit low, right about thigh high, but he makes the catch. That's a tough one. Because a lot of times you catch it and you knock it out with your legs if you're not careful.
Anderson trying to give the Saints the lead for the first time today, and he does. 2.5 minutes to play in the 3rd quarter. The Saints on top by 1. Texas Stadium in Irving, Texas. A playoff atmosphere for this game between New Orleans and Dallas. At one point, the Cowboys led 10-0, but the Saints have battled back and taken the lead for the first time today on the touchdown pass from Walsh to Kennedy. And Morton Anderson booms one through the back of the end zone. No chance for Alexander Wright. It's the Cowboy defense. Talks about the recent improvement in the New Orleans offense. The Cowboy offense is on the field. They haven't done much since the first quarter. 1st and 10. The Cowboys will begin at their own 20-yard line. Steve Berline was acquired from the Raiders at the end of training camp on August 25th for a 4th-round draft pick. And really, Hank, the Cowboys are in a similar situation to last year when Aikman went down. At that time, they had to turn to Babe Laufenberg. Big difference this year with a quarterback who could be starting on a number of other teams. In there now, Steve Berline. Swing pass, Emmitt Smith. Out to the 27, a gain of 7. Let's look again at the go-ahead touchdown for New Orleans.
Yeah, watch Finnerty right here. He goes in the area right in here, and breaks out into the flat area. And Williams, number 23, is trying to make the play. Watch, he goes between a guard and a tackle. He breaks out in the flat. There he is. Williams is trying to cover him. The ball is thrown. The only spot that you could throw it in that condition where it's outside, there's no way in the world that the defensive back can make a play on it. Beautiful play. Great execution on the part of the New Orleans Saints.
2 players injured. Emmitt Smith appears to be fine as he walks off, but an ominous sight for Saints fans is Toy Cook, who's played a terrific game today, walking off and favoring his left shoulder. We mentioned the injuries already to Vince Buck, Reginald Jones, and Calvin Nicholson, and if Cook's out, it's a big problem.
Look at the collision here now, and they're trying to scrape the ball loose. Look at those hands in there trying to get that ball loose. And again, Emmitt Smith has got the ball in the wrong arm. He ought to be carrying it away from that pursuit.
On second down, Tommy Agee, his first carry of the day, and he's short of the 30-yard line and short of the first down. Again, we remind you that Jim McMahon left that game with bruised ribs in Philadelphia, and we are told he probably will not return. As here in Irving, Texas, they look at Toy Cook.
Houston's starting to come on.
Jimmy Johnson quickly has Emmitt Smith right back in there on 3rd down and 1. 14-13 New Orleans.
They've been running to the right side on short yardage. Let's see if they do it again over Newton, the right tackle. There they go.
Smith. First down, and he got drilled by Mark Lee, who came in for Toy Cook.
Emmitt Smith is a terrific runner. He reminds me so much of our great back at Kansas City, Mike Garrett. Played his collegiate football at Southern California, about the same size. Terrific quickness, could change directions, had great vision, and was a fantastic runner from the deep position, the I formation.
We tick down to a half minute left in the 3rd quarter. Smith has 56 yards rushing today. Berline to Novacek. Out to the 39, wrapped up quickly by Mills. First catch of the day for Jay Novacek, who's taken no snaps at tight end the last 2 weeks because of a sprained left knee. He has been serving as the holder during that time.
Novacek is a sneaky tight end. He came into the game with 54 catches, and I mean that in a complimentary way. He has a great ability to watch, to fill the voids and make sure he gets between people and linebackers. Here we see Berline going back into the pocket, stands right in there, throws it right over the top of the rush, and completes the ball to Novacek.
He was hit by Les Miller, and on the play, John Giesick was injured for Dallas. New Orleans has a 14-13 lead in the final seconds of the 3rd quarter. Toy Cook still being tended to along the New Orleans sideline, and John Giesick was helped off moments ago for the Cowboys. They ran the clock, and that is the end of the 3rd quarter. At the end of the 3rd quarter, the score at the moment by Alan Weingrad, number 76. 2nd down and 3 for the Cowboys, working from their own 40-yard line as the 4th quarter begins with New Orleans leading by 1. Smith, first down and out of bounds at the 44. Bad news for the Saints. During the commercial break, Toy Cook was escorted to the dressing room. No word yet on the nature of his injury.
Yeah, they'll miss him because he's kind of the glue that keeps that defensive secondary together. He's been with them for a long time and has done a remarkable job, and he's especially good at reading coverages and reacting, especially in zone.
So it's Mark Lee, the 12-year veteran wearing number 32, who has taken his place in the secondary. Waived last weekend by San Francisco and signed Wednesday by New Orleans. Berline under pressure, threw too high for Michael Irvin.
Berline wearing number 7. I thought, I asked him why he wore 7. He said, I wear it because I was born on March the 7th. I like Burt Jones. He wore 7. He was one of my idols when I was growing up, and also the great Terry Bradshaw. He loved Terry, and he really picked some great people to try to emulate.
We are told that Toy Cook is going to have his left forearm x-rayed, and they do have x-ray facilities in every National Football League stadium. 2nd and 10. Beuerlein hit as he threw. It is incomplete. Milton Mack broke it up as it was intended for Michael Irvin.
That's 2 big plays. Milton Mack has broken up. One on the sideline early in the game, and now he gets one coming across the middle. But here again, he does a good job on man-for-man. Look at Swilly, number 56. See, now look at Newton blocking him, and they've done a terrific job of blocking those 2 great linebackers. 2-A on the left side, blocking Swilling and also Jackson.
Jimmy Johnson said yesterday he would try to block Swilling and Jackson with his tackles, and they have done an excellent job today. 3rd and 10. Beuerlein. Irvin. 35 and 30 of New Orleans out of bounds at the 27-yard line.
Great presence on the part of the quarterback, Steve Beuerlein. He was in trouble back there. He jumped up in the middle of the pocket, had room to throw the ball, and gets it over to Irvin on the play. What a great play by Beuerlein. Watch this.
Hank, he was very close to being over the line of scrimmage when he threw that ball.
Yeah, he was. But see, Irvin goes to the inside, then back outside, and loses Lee. And as a result, why he makes the catch and picks up the big gain on the play.
77 catches this season, a team record. He had tied Herschel Walker earlier. With that catch, he has also moved past Bob Hayes for the single-season yardage record for the Dallas Cowboys. Emmitt Smith caught the pass out of the backfield. He's down at the 25-yard line in the arms of Pat Swilling.
You know, Emmitt Smith has really done a remarkable job all season long of protecting the football. He gets involved in a lot of traffic, a lot of big guys pounding on him, but he has the capacity and the ability, and he's strong enough to maintain possession of the football.
Coming up next on CBS Sports, Sports Sunday, featuring the Chrysler Plymouth Tournament of Champions from Deer Valley, Utah. History's greatest skiers meet in the second in a series of 3 events. 2nd and 8 for Beuerlein and the Cowboys. They trail 14-13 early in the 4th quarter. Smith tripped up after a gain of 2. Ricky Jackson made the tackle.
You talk about sledgehammer football. When they run the ball, that's exactly what they're doing. They're trying to get a hat on everybody and trying to get a push. They take them the way they want to go. The back reads the block and gets into the hole and picks up yardage on the play. Not an overabundance of yardage, but he's getting yardage.
Third down and 6. They are in field goal range for Ken Willis.
They got to do something in the middle.
Whoa. It is incomplete. Harper turned around looking for a flag. It looked like somebody had a hold of his jersey downfield, but there is no flag on the field. Ken Willis is coming on the field. Try a field goal attempt.
They took a shot at Lee, number 32. Thought maybe they'd try to get one on top of him. There again, good pass protection. Throws it up, got plenty of air under the football. That ball should have been caught. Had a chance to make that catch.
Willis trying a 40-yarder. He's 2 for 2 today. He's connected from 50 and 42 to give Dallas the lead. It's good. The Cowboys are back on top, 16-14. To go put the Cowboys back on top. Michael Irvin has set 2 records today for the Cowboys for receptions in a season and single season receiving yardage. Emmitt Smith enjoying a good day rushing the ball, and Steve Walsh has had a very nice return to Texas Stadium. Willis with the kickoff. Gene Atkins started at the 1. Down at the 15-yard line.
Say there's no place for him to run. They're kicking it right in that corner. He's right next to the railroad tracks, the sideline on the left side, and it's too far to run to the right. He's got to go right up the trolley line and get as much as he possibly can.
The fourth quarter lately has been a nightmare for Jim Mora. Coming into today's game, in the last 3 games, the Saints have been outscored 41-7 in the fourth quarter. All 3 of those games losses. And the Saints have blown a fourth quarter lead in each of their 4 losses this season. And they led here in the fourth quarter today. They now trail.
And they can't be conservative here. They got to keep throwing the ball and making something happen. They can't get conservative.
Walsh dumps it off to Kennedy. Knocked out of bounds by Jack Del Rio after a gain of 1. For NFL Today report, let's go to Greg Gumbel in New York.
All right, Sean, at Texas, or rather in Chicago, Jim Harbaugh to Wendell Davis, who does a nice job of coming back for the catch, his second touchdown catch of the day, but the Bears missed the extra point. It's 27-13 Bears. They're in the fourth quarter now at Soldier Field, Sean.
Thank you, Greg. Wherever he was, it was a nice catch. Well, the Bears seem to be comfortably in control there now after an early problem with the Packers. 2nd and 9. Jordan out of the backfield. First down, New Orleans. Rupert Jordan out of bounds at the 28-yard line, knocked out by Vincent Smith.
I hope they realize how important and how efficient that play-action pass is. They've thrown it quite a bit this afternoon, but that's what you have to do against the Cowboys, and they have to continue to do that until that linebacker comes out there wider, and then if he gets out wider, then they can run inside. Watch the play-action now. A good mesh between the back. Look at that. Look at the outside. Linebacker on the inside. Buford Jordan. The ball is thrown perfectly right out in front of the number where he can run into the ball and run with it once he makes the catch.
That was a gain of 12. 4 catches today for Jordan.
Look at all the time he's got to throw the ball for the play action.
The quit early, incomplete. Isaac Holt had the coverage. The deep ball, Hank, is really not Steve Walsh's strength. Bobby Hebert a bit better in that department. Walsh a very good intermediate passer.
Yeah, I think Walsh really is a better cylinder passer, and by cylinder passer I mean he can hit the target. You know, you got somebody at the circus, he's sitting on the little swing. You hit that little bullseye, and the guy drops in the water. That's a cylinder pass. You got to hit him right in the mark.
2nd and 10. Many members of the sellout crowd on their feet as the Cowboys look to protect a 2-point lead. McAfee through a big hole. He may go. James Washington, the last man who had a shot at him, brought him down at the 39-yard line.
And here again, that defensive end was very wide. They blitzed up the middle, which means you got no pursuit whatsoever. And McAfee makes a brilliant run, good eyes, good vision, and makes a big gain on the play. See, they're blitzing up the middle. A good read by McAfee. Missed tackle there by Holt. Terrible tackling. Another bad tackle on the other side. I couldn't tell who it was. They finally get him down. Tackling was terrible.
34-yard gain for McAfee, matching the longest run of his career. They stick with Fred. And he got a couple, and he was driven back. Ray Horton credited with the tackle for the Cowboy defense.
I tell you, Paul Boudreau, the offensive line coach for the New Orleans Saints, has really done a remarkable job with this offensive line. They're very efficient. They know exactly what they have to do. They got good leverage, good blocking schemes, and he's done a terrifically outstanding job with the fact, considering the fact that they've had so many injuries with their offensive line.
Second down and 9.
Look at that. Flat should be there again if he has a chance.
McAfee from here, Hank, will be a 55-yard field goal for Anderson.
Yeah, you got to get some helium in the ball to get it up there, but he's got such a strong leg. He can still pump it through there if he hits it right. See, that time they wasted a play. They had 3 linemen in the middle there. There's no way in the world you're going to run something inside with 3 linebackers inside and 4 linemen. You got 7.
Ken Norton made the tackle on the last play on Fred McAfee. Gordon out of the game as the nickel package is on for the Cowboys on 3rd down and 8. Walsh underneath and dropped. Floyd Turner had his hands on it. Bill Bates had the coverage.
Bill Bates is amazing. He's been here forever. And he still plays with the same enthusiasm, the same animation, the same excitement that he did when he was a rookie. Watch him coming across the middle out here. Watch Bates give him a shot right about the time the ball was coming into the pocket and knocks it right out of there.
Walsh disappointed. The Saints are going to go for it on 4th down here. It would be a 55-yard field goal, so on 4th and 8, they'll go for the first down, trailing by 2.
That's a good play. A good call here.
4-man rush. Walsh with plenty of time. Throws into a crowd, incomplete.
Yeah.
Looking for Wesley Carroll.
Boy, I thought he might have a chance in there. A lot of folks. It looked like they hit him in a shoulder pad, didn't it? I tell you, that was great defense for you got to give them a lot of credit. The Cowboys, terrific job.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Norma.
The umbrella. Canon, photographic consultant to the National Football League. And by Miller Lite, it's it. And that's that.
The New Orleans Saints try to avoid their 4th consecutive loss. Trail the Cowboys by 2 with 8:49 to play in the 4th quarter.
Long way to go. A lot of things could still happen.
Jim Mora has thrown caution to the wind a couple of times today. Just went for it on 4th and 8, and the pass was incomplete. Cowboys with it on downs. 1st and 10. Flag down. Pass incomplete. Nearly intercepted by Milton Mack, who had the coverage on Michael Irvin.
Yeah, it looked like he had it. Looked like they're probably holding on the Dallas Cowboys.
Pass intended for number 88, Michael.
Join us Saturday for special coverage of the NFL on CBS. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers take on the Chicago Bears. Action starts at noon Eastern with the NFL Today. And following football, the road to the Final Four continues on CBS with defending national champion Duke visiting the Michigan Wolverines. That's all next Saturday on CBS. They did accept the holding penalty. The football back on the 27-yard line. Bernline looking at 1st and 20.
They want to try to get it back slowly here now. They won't do it any crazy. There he is. So they'll get it. Look at that. Good play. So you don't want to go back in the pocket. 1st and 20, and everybody coming after you. Run the ball. Maybe you get a big play, which they did. So
Emmitt Smith brought it out to the 36-yard line. He gained 9 of the yards back, and terrible news for the Saints as Toy Cook has a fractured left forearm. He will not return for Jim Mora today.
Well, I can't believe the luck that they've had, or the lack of luck, talking about New Orleans losing backs like they did defensive backs last week, and then the one constant, Toy Cook, gets it today.
The 2 starting quarterbacks who opened the game last week in San Francisco are both out now with injuries, Buck and Cook. Bernline on the run, caught. Irvin, 1st down. Into Saints territory and out of bounds at the 44-yard line.
See, there's a great illustration of how important escapability is with a quarterback. He's got to be, the quarterback's got to be able to make some plays on his own. Now look at Bernline. Say, watch this now. He's back in the pocket. Look at the rush on the outside. He goes on the outside of the rush and under control, gets his feet set, throws the ball downfield to Irvin, and Irvin makes a good move and goes down to field for a nice gain on the play.
Now Bernline is playing against 2 quarterbacks who were not on the New Orleans roster last week. Lee was waived by San Francisco after the game last Sunday. Mack was on injured reserve. He's been there for 8 weeks. And it's Smith. Still on his feet. He gained 8. down to the 37-yard line, tackled by Gene Atkins.
You talk about balance and power and quickness and speed. Beautiful run. And the great backs, you'll find the great backs really stretch the short gains into long runs, or longer runs. There's a great illustration of a 7 or 8 yard gain, and he should have been stopped in the backfield.
You saw the record when Smith rushes 18 times or more, and he's carried 20 times today for the Cowboys.
The players are holding up good this afternoon. The humidity here is really terrible, isn't it?
We mentioned the 76-degree temperature at game time. Steve Berline has called for a timeout. On Thanksgiving Day. They beat Pittsburgh on Thanksgiving. They're trying to go to 8-0 following home Thanksgiving wins with a win today over New Orleans. Sean McDonough and Hank Stram, our producer Rob Silverstein, and our director Craig Silver. Delighted to have you with us.
You know, the other thing that's amazing about the Cowboys is the fact they have had no turnovers, no sacks allowed, and only one penalty. You talk about a big league game and expression of talent. They've done it here so far with 8 minutes left to go in this game.
On 2nd and 2, Emmitt Smith is close to a first down. Wayne Martin made the tackle. Then we remind you of the implications of this game for these two teams. If the Saints win today, they are definitely in the playoffs. At the very least, as a wild card team, they're hoping to be the NFC West champions. If they win today and both Atlanta and San Francisco lose, that would be the case. The Cowboys control their own destiny in that if they win all 3 of their remaining games, including this one, they are definitely in the playoffs. There are other routes to the playoffs for Jimmy Johnson, but the easiest way is to win all 3 and not have to worry about anybody else. It is a first down for Dallas at the 34-yard line of New Orleans.
And we talked about the offensive line of the New Orleans Saints. The Dallas Cowboy offensive line have been very, very special this afternoon. Mark Tuanay, Kevin Gogan, Stepnowski. Giesig got hurt, and so they had to get a replacement there. Nate Newton has done a great job at the right tackle position. Tight ends have done excellent work. And so, and Weingrad has played their position when Giesig got out.
16-14 Dallas. Under 6.5 minutes to play. Bernline to the sideline. Incomplete. Intended for Alvin Harper.
A good pump. That's good for man, but they wound up in a zone. As a result, it wasn't effective, plus the fact that Harper was too close to the sideline to make the catch. Didn't give himself enough room.
Both Gene Atkins and Brett Maxey were in the vicinity of Alvin Harper.
They had great success throwing in front of the defensive backs early in the game. They haven't come back to that at all since that time.
On 2nd and 10, the delay to Smith. Good hole. Emmitt Smith close to another first down. Tackled by Sam Mills. Smith looks to be less than a yard short of the first down.
That's a cutback play. A great run, great vision on the part of Smith. Watch him now. Watch him veer off to the outside. Watch here. See the defensive linemen get good penetration. They get too far up the field, and as a result, why there's nobody there to make the play, and Sam Mills comes in from the middle linebacker position and makes the play from the side. End and tackle on that side disappeared.
Smith has had 9 career 100-yard games. He's 9 yards away from a 10th. In the previous 9, Dallas is 8-1 when Emmitt Smith rushes for 100 yards or more. For those of you who are just joining us, let's take a look back at this afternoon's game. It was all Dallas early, his 3rd of the game. 3rd and 1, 7th play of the drive. Smith appeared to have lots of running room, but tripped over the pile. Now the question is, does he have the first down? It'll be close. Wayne Martin credited with the tackle.
You know, the one thing about this is the fact that it's very obvious. You know exactly where they're going to run every short yardage situation. They're going to run over Newton, the right tackle, and in spite of that, they still haven't been able to stop that play. which is a great compliment to the offensive line of the Dallas Cowboys.
First down, Dallas. Coming up next on CBS, the NFL Today post-game show. There's Greg Gumbel and Terry Bradshaw will update you on all the scores, highlights, and the complete playoff picture. That's coming up immediately following the Saints and Cowboys. The Eagles have taken the lead over the Giants. They're on the verge of extinction.
Richie Kotite has really done a great job with that team.
Emmett Smith pounds inside the 20 and down to the 18-yard line. Time very much the ally of Steve Berline of the Cowboys as the clock runs inside of 4 minutes and 10 seconds to play.
This hasn't happened to the Saints all year long. Anybody to take the ball and ram it at them and play sledgehammer football like the Cowboys have done this afternoon. I didn't think they'd be able to do that, but they're doing it. They're getting a great push up front from their offensive linemen.
First down, Cowboys. As Emmett Smith goes down to the 13-yard line, tripped up by Sam Mills.
You get a good picture of Johnson, the fullback, 48. Watch him. You see him get a lead block up front. It wasn't clear as I thought it might be, but it was a good picture of what happened on the play with Johnson.
Smith now over 100 yards with 103 on 25 carries. His 7th 100-yard game this season. We mentioned for his career, the Cowboys are 8-1 when he rushes for 100 yards or more. He was the first 100-yard rusher against the Saints this season. Emmett danced for a couple, and now the Saints ask for a quick timeout. That leaves the Saints with 2, and Dallas has just 1 timeout remaining. We mentioned earlier some of the Saint fans growing restless with Jim Mora and his conservative nature, but I think they have a short memory about what this man has done with this franchise.
Oh, that's right. You know, all you got to do is look at where they are. They're still at first place. You know, these things kind of happen, especially when you have as many injuries as the New Orleans Saints have had. I tell you, Dean Kleinschmidt and his group has done a fantastic job. Whoa, look at this.
Emmett Smith inside the 5 and down at the 3, very close to another first down. Jim Mora wants another timeout.
Those are good calls because they'll get another timeout. They would get 1 timeout at the 2-minute warning, so it's a good way to conserve some time when they get the ball back.
As you could tell by the continuing gestures from Coach Mora, they didn't see him for several seconds. Emmett Smith is still down to the turf. He's very close to a first down. A touchdown here is just about a fatal blow for the Saints in this football game as they already trail by 2.
Watch this. We'll watch the replay. Watch Smith, 22. Let's see. Jumps to the outside. Got the ball in the wrong arm. Now he puts both arms over the ball. Looks like he maybe fell on the ball. Couldn't tell for sure. There he jumps to the outside. Here he is. Now let's see what happens.
Meanwhile, they have measured, and the Cowboys are inches short of a first down. They'll have 3rd and about...
Closer to get you game time. That's, I think, a lot of times the nature and personality of a coach in this kind of a big game. I talked to Jim during the course of the week, talked to him about 45 minutes, and he was great, but he's totally different, and you expect that. Being a coach, while you know how the moods and the emotional level changes as you get closer to that game.
Although you would have to admit that Jimmy Johnson was a pretty relaxed fella as compared to Jim Mora.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He was like he's going to the circus or going to on a picnic.
3rd and less than a yard. A.G. Touchdown, Dallas.
Same place, right over Newton again, all afternoon. Over Newton, and they still get the push. Great compliment to Newton, the way he's come off the ball, and those Dallas Cowboy linemen on that right side. Here again, watch the push on the right side. They got a wing back on that same side, a lead backer. Bad tackling at the point of attack. Gene Atkins was right in the hole, but didn't know where the ball carrier was.
Out of the season. Ken Willis to make it a 9-point lead. And it is good. We are told that Emmitt Smith left with a sprained right knee. His return is unlikely, but it's unlikely they'll need him today. Tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes. What's the country music capital of the United States? Nashville? No, it's Branson, Missouri. That's right. They've got more theater seats than they have on Broadway. And 60 Minutes has a whole block of them reserved for tonight. That's tonight on 60 Minutes. Then stay tuned for Brooklyn Bridge, followed by the CBS Sunday movie, Beaches. There's Emmitt Smith. May take a look at that injured right knee.
They got to be concerned about that. I don't, you know, the way he's run and what a major influence he's had on this football team. You lose him, and they're going to be in trouble.
Now the Saints won't even have the benefit of the 2-minute warning, as there are exactly 2 minutes left on that touchdown to score. Only one timeout left for New Orleans.
The Saints have suffered here this afternoon as far as time of possession is concerned. They averaged 34-16 going into the game, and so far, why, they're about 26 minutes. And about 5 minutes behind the Dallas Cowboys as far as time of possession is concerned.
Willis kicks off. And angling it toward the corner for Quinn Early. He's in trouble and down at the 10-yard line. Robert Williams, the fifth-year quarterback from Baylor, made the play on kickoff coverage for Dallas.
And he smothered him. It was a terrific tackle. I talked about the possession time. New Orleans so far 26-53. Dallas 31-07.
Hank, assuming this score stands. Everybody we talked to connected with New Orleans yesterday said there was no panic. They're a good football team, a good football slump. Now, do they start to look at themselves and evaluate?
No, I think that's the job of the head coach. He's got to sell them on the idea that, number one, you can't win if you can't forget. You got to forget all those things. You got to win one more game.
Wesley Carroll, the catch. He's close to a first down and has it out of the 22-yard line. Stan Brock made that point yesterday. He said during this three-game losing scheme, Jim Mora and his personality have remained so consistent that he was when they were winning that there really wasn't any sense of urgency.
Well, I think sometimes, you know, you can use that approach sometimes, but I think sometimes you got to get off that and do something that's going to change the personality of that team and raise them through here.
Go to part of his game that is not his strength, throwing the ball downfield. It was well off the money looking for Eric Clark. They'll bring it 2nd and 10. Will Bobby Hebert return next week for Jim Moore?
Well, the way they talk, there's a chance that he might, but I was surprised that they put him down to 3 this week. I thought sure he'd move up to 2. And down to 3 is going to have to make a dramatic difference as far as his condition to play next week against the Raiders in New Orleans.
Minute 23 to play. 2nd and 10. Wall handoff to Kennedy. He could not shed the tackle of Manny Hendricks.
Yeah, he couldn't get out of bounds, and so the clock keeps running. You know, it's a shame. It's unusual the way this team has changed personalities offensively early this season. The Saints had a hard time moving the football. Defense was fantastic. Now at a crucial time of the season, the defense hasn't been strong, and the offense has improved dramatically.
Walsh was looking for Turner. The pass was too long. Jimmy Johnson about to win his 5th straight at home. And they're feeling much better about their football team here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex and around America for those fans who believe that Dallas truly is America's team.
I tell you one thing, Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson have really done a fantastic job of putting this team together and getting them where they are right now so quickly.
Great move by Kennedy to keep the drive alive. That was 4th down, and he picked up 13 with the stutter step to elude 2 Dallas tacklers. And now Walsh has called the Saints' last timeout with 42 seconds remaining. Against the Atlanta Falcons the regular season.
It's amazing what a great job Richie Kotite has done with the Philadelphia Eagles. You know, it looked like they were going to have a terrible time after they lost their 2 quarterbacks. But in spite of that, if they win today, that's 6 in a row. They're very much in a race. And what a defense they have. It's fantastic.
On 1st down, Kennedy. Boy, the Saints would have been better off with an incompletion there as the clock will continue to run.
Well, that's all. The Cowboys are just making sure they keep everybody in front so they can catch the ball, make the tackle, and keep them from going out of bounds. That's what's happening. They'll give them that kind of stuff. They just want to take as much time off the clock as they possibly can.
Eric Martin with the catch. And a timeout call. Not sure the Saints have any left. We have been informed that they don't, but apparently they had 1 remaining. And they use it with 11 seconds to go. I invite you to stay tuned again for Greg and Terry coming up in a matter of moments. Among the stories they'll tell you about Houston's victory in the AFC Central. The Oilers, Jack Pardee, wrapped that up today with a win over Pittsburgh. Denver is in the playoffs as the Broncos went to Cleveland and beat the Browns today 17-7. Those are just some of the stories as the playoff picture continues to develop.
I tell you, Dan Reeves has done a fantastic job with that team, too. The way they played last year to bounce back like they have and be in first place, tied with the Raiders. I don't know what the Raiders are doing this afternoon. Do they play tonight?
They play the Buffalo Bills later on this afternoon. Interesting decision here. They need a touchdown and a field goal, do the Saints. Now they have no timeouts left, so they're going to try for the field goal here, then a quick onside kick and a hope for a recovery, and then a chance to throw one in the end zone. This will be a 54-yard attempt as they try it on 1st down. It has the distance, but it's no good. Wide to the left. And that will do it. Jimmy Johnson and his Cowboys won 1 game 2 years ago. They've won 9 with 2 still to play here in 1991.
And when you sit and talk to Jimmy, you just have the feeling you'll walk away knowing that he knows where he's going, knows what he's doing, thinks he has a good football team, thinks they're going to win. That whole organization creates that kind of an atmosphere when you talk to them.
And the forecasters of doom and gloom in New Orleans, who have seen many disappointments over the years, will have plenty more food for thought along those lines this week. Once again, the final score, the Dallas Cowboys 23 and the New Orleans Saints 14. Stay tuned for the NFL Today postgame show. Greg and Terry will have all the scores, highlights, and latest playoff information from around the NFL. CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League will continue after this.